35 years is a long time to be doing anything, but managing to keep a band together for that long must be a full-time job in itself. 2026 celebrates Canadian band The Tea Party's 35th year in the business, and they're heading back to Australia, bringing a unique live experience to our shores with the Elements Tour. And to tell us all about it, the tour and two very special shows in Sydney and Melbourne is The Tea Party's mainstay, Jeff Martin. G'day, Jeff.
Costa, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you. Welcome back, but I say welcome back, but you lived in Australia for a while, and are you still living here?
I am still here. Yeah, you cannot get rid of me. I've been, I have been blessed to be a permanent resident of Australia since 2008, and now I make my home up in the Blackall Range in the Sunshine Coast, one of the most beautiful parts of Australia. Yeah, I don't think I'll be leaving here for quite some time.
So the rest of the band still live elsewhere, or?
Yeah, Stuart, the bassist keyboardist, Stuart Chatwood, he lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. And Jeff Burrows, our drummer, lives in our hometown still of Windsor, Ontario. So that's
Okay.
Windsor is where the three of us, well, I'll loosely say we grew up, yes, in Windsor. We've it's funny, Costa, because it's like, yeah, 35 years as a band, but I met Jeff Burrows, the drummer, when I was 5 years old and he was six. We went to school together and we had our first band together when I was 10 and he was 11. And then we met Stuart in year eight, like the first year of high school. So we've known each other that long.
Obviously, a great chemistry there, both on stage and off stage.
Yeah, we had our 7 year split that happened in 2005, but I think the three of us are in agreement that it was necessary, and what it did for the band, not only as a collective but also as individuals. Once we did get back together, we had a newfound appreciation for our friendship, and also our audience as well. Like there was a rekindling of passion again. That's not a lot of bands get a second chance, and we were very fortunate that we pulled it together again. And I'm sure the other two would agree that the band now is better than ever, and the relationship, the music, the performances, it's all escalated in a very positive way.
Well, I can imagine that chemistry on stage just does get better and better and better as you go through those songs, all that muscle memory, all those sorts of things that just, it becomes you're sitting in the pocket when you're on stage.
Yeah, well, it's quite true, and like a lot of those classic Tea Party songs like Psycho Pump or Temptation or Fire in the Head or The Bazaar, they keep on taking on a new life because it's kind of like, now it's not prog rock and it's not jazz, but like in a jazz band, like the musicians know that there's signposts that they have to reach within the framework of a song, but in between those signposts, it's kind of open, right? And that's sort of what is happening with the Tea Party. Like we still deliver the essence of the songs. Like no one walks away going, that wasn't right. But it's always now like there's always a new surprise in there.
With that in mind, you've got a run of shows, two of which you're going to play with orchestras. So for a start, tell us how that all came about. But also, does that limit being with the orchestras? Do you think that's going to limit where you can go with those kind of, that improv stuff?
Well, it does in a way, but the way that the scores are written, with myself being the producer of the Tea Party's music, now, on record, like the soundscapes are large, they're massive. There's a
Yes.
lot of tracks going on, right? But for instance, pardon the pun, but to take a page out of Zeppelin, okay, so when Jimmy Page would produce Led Zeppelin, there was a lot of guitar overdubs, especially in the later records like, Four and Houses of the Holy and Physical Graffiti and all that, right? But when people would go see Led Zeppelin live, there was no backing tapes. There was no extra musicians. It was just four men on stage basically distilling, what they did on record, right? Same process with the Tea Party. That's what we do in our rock shows. But with the orchestra shows, because we have done this, I'd say 7 or 8 times in the past, the orchestra behind us allows those extra elements, those other guitar parts, like even though it's not being played by guitars, it's like woodwinds or it's strings or whatever, but it allows all those other parts that I produced or wrote, played, to be represented, in the show. So, but yes, we have to be very disciplined with an orchestra, because even though the scores that have been written, they're not exactly to what was produced on the record. We've worked in conjunction with the guy, with this very talented man from Quebec, Marc Ouellette, who we wrote the scores with, and we incorporated some of those classic jam elements that Tea Party fans know live. We've put them into the symphony as well, but that's the extent of it. Like, once it's there, once that score is in front of those incredible musicians that are going to be playing behind us, we have to stick to that. So what's happening is that Jeff Burrows, the drummer, he's getting over here. He's flying in on Friday. Stuart's a couple days after him. And then we're going to be rehearsing up here on the Sunshine Coast. Now, the Tea Party, we don't really rehearse, like especially for the rock shows. But for these orchestra shows, what we have to rehearse is the ins and the outs of each song. Like, because we have to make sure that we're married to those same scores that the orchestra is, right? Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a mental challenge, a little bit of memory muscle there. But like I said, we've done it before. We've been successful at doing it. So I'm not going to be having sleepless nights leading up to these shows.
Oh, that's great. And those 2 shows are the Hamer Hall in Melbourne on Friday the 6th of February with Orchestra Victoria, and there's an Opera House show as well in Sydney on the 11th of February with the Metropolitan Orchestra. So Sarah Grace Williams is going to be conducting for both of those?
Yes. Amazing. Like, I'm very excited about that. But it also costs, you have to think, like, back when you were at Triple J, okay, and I'm thinking about myself like a 23-year-old kid from Canada, okay? Fly to Australia for the first time, right? Triple J is playing our music, but, we were here for a month, the first tour that we did. And what the promoter did was he had this idea that we would do a residency in Sydney and Melbourne, and we would do it for 4 weeks, right? So 23-year-old me gets here, and I see the Opera House for the first time, like, in real life. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, wouldn't it be amazing someday to play that place, right? And, like, lo and behold, 35 years later, with the help of Triple J in the 90s and, like, this incredible audience that we have here in Australia that has stuck with us, and now there's a new generation coming out, as well. And 35 years later, we get to play one of the 7 wonders of the world with an orchestra, and it's sold out. I mean, come on. This is pretty cool.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Have you been to a show there? Have you seen shows at the Opera House?
I've actually played a show there.
Okay.
I did, but it was the smaller room in the Opera House. It was a Beatles tribute sort of show. It was, what's the singer's name from Little River Band? Glenn Shorrock. Yes. So he was part of it. Jack Jones was part of it, so it was a Beatles sort of thing. But it wasn't the big room that we're about to play, but it was still. I'm still in the Opera House. It was cool,
It's fantastic. But it is an amazing place. I was lucky enough to see The Cure in there do the Disintegration record, which was just mind-blowing. Yeah. So brilliant. That's great, mate. So there's 2 elements. The Elements Tour, there's Wind and Fire. So why have you... Wind is the orchestra part of it, and the other 3 shows, I should mention, Thirroul on Wednesday the 12th of February at Anita's, Fortitude Music Hall in Brisbane on the Friday the 13th, and Sunday the 15th of February at the Hindley Street Music Hall. And they're the fire elements.
Yeah.
So...
Because it's all guns blazing.
Yeah.
It's all guns blazing. Yeah. So, like, and that's going to be, like the rock show that Tea Party fans have come to love. But you see, like last time the Tea Party toured across Australia, I think it was June of 2024. And that tour that we did, all the capital cities, it was kind of like we did our greatest hits, so to speak, right? And this time for Tea Party fans, we're gonna obviously there's songs that we have to play, or else there'd be a revolt. Like we got to play The Bazaar, we got to play Sister Awake and stuff like that. But we're also gonna go and explore some deep cuts, and that's gonna be fun for the band as well. So hence another reason why we should rehearse. Yes, those deep cuts. Yes. Right.
Any secrets? Have you kind of got a list of deep cuts that you're going to be looking at?
I do, but I just don't want to give it away, mate.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You're listening to thebreakdown.net. Now, guest today is Jeff Martin from the Tea Party, who are about to embark on a tour of Australia. That you mentioned before about the layers that Zeppelin did and the layers that you guys have. So how are the songs different that you will do with an orchestra?
Well, okay, I'll tell you this. Like especially the emotional ones, like songs like "Walking Wounded" or "Requiem." And I say this in jest, but I actually kind of mean it in a way. Like, so the image of me, this Canadian Dark Lord of Rock, blah, 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 right? But I'm on stage with an orchestra and playing those songs that I mentioned, Walking Wounded or Requiem. And it has happened in the past where, especially if I get a moment and I'm not singing, I turn around and there's tears streaming down my eyes, because I don't want the audience to see. I don't want to lose my cool, right? But that's how much it affects me on stage, like the power of emotion that the Tea Party and an orchestra, like that combination together, it's sometimes it's a bit overwhelming even for me.
You play a lot of different instruments yourself. Will you obviously hand some of those duties over to the orchestra?
I'm not going to make the orchestra, like, I know the audience can't see this, but I'm not going to make them play something like this, right? So that's a Middle Eastern oud, right?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of things that's because of my studio being here in Australia, and a lot of those exotic instruments that you used to see us play, like in the 90s and things like that. Well, now they're all housed in my recording studio. So I don't like them traveling that much, but since we're doing these two shows with the orchestra, I'm going to be bringing out some things like the Middle Eastern oud, the Turkish saz, even my hurdy-gurdy. Going to be bringing that out. So there's going to be a few surprises, but I wouldn't want to put that pressure on any of the orchestra because it's bad enough that I've got to play them. So.
So when was the first time you played with an orchestra?
It was in 1999, I believe, either 99 or 2000, and it was in Quebec City, which is the capital of the province of Quebec in Canada. We did it at a beautiful place called the Capitol Theatre, and actually the CBC, the equivalent of the ABC here, the CBC filmed it and did a documentary basically called "The Science of Music," and it was how a rock band and an orchestra, the chemical marriage happens, and it really went in deep into like instruments that the Tea Party uses, and great conversations with the conductor Mark Willett, who scored the music. I think it's still, you can find it on YouTube or something like that for anyone that's interested. It's called The Science of Music, the Canadian Broadcasting Company. It's really worth a watch.
I'll definitely check it out. Now, on the Black River set, you covered Led Zeppelin's Out on the Tiles.
Yeah.
Any covers in the set coming up? Or again, is that a secret?
Yeah. You know what? It's a secret, buddy. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. Okay. So.
What was it like doing that one anyway, Out on the Tiles? I mean, it's a great track.
It was challenging because, for any, hardcore Zeppelin fan, like the time signature that Zeppelin originally did it in was different to what the Tea Party did. Like we tried to make it more like 4 on the Floor, and I believe it really worked. It was a fun tune to play, even as a young man. My voice was never, in the stratosphere like Robert Plant's, like the way he could sing. So it was a different approach on it, but to my knowledge, a lot of people liked it. So it was a fun thing to do. Yeah.
No, it certainly worked well. Are we going to be looking forward to any kind of new music from the Tea
Absolutely, buddy.
Party
Well,
soon?
after I'm done this slew of interviews today, there's a new Tea Party song that I'm working on that hopefully will be seeing the light of day as a release, like probably in May of this year. The working title right now is called Awisha, which in Arabic means alive. And it is very much going back to all of our, Middle Eastern Moroccan roll roots, that Tea Party sound. It's massive.
So those, like you say, those Moroccan roll roots. Have you been to Morocco? Have you
Yeah,
seen? Have
yeah,
you?
absolutely.
Did you like learn from local folks there about
Oh well, I did.
different
Well, I mean,
instrumentation and stuff?
I'd been listening to music from Morocco and the Middle East and Turkey and whatnot. So, like ever since I don't know, 18, 19 years old. But it was only really in my early 40s when I had the opportunity to travel to Morocco, and I was there for about a month and spent a lot, like half of it in Fez, which I absolutely fell in love with, and the other half was in Marrakesh, which was cool. Little dangerous, but still cool. And but like Fez was amazing because I got to, you hang with some incredible musicians, like these master oud players, and these master percussionists and whatnots, and just like the food and the smell of the Medina, like the bazaars, right, and everything. And it was just like. I could easily live there, and maybe someday I might.
It's a really different feel, isn't it? I mean, it's all about time signatures, and I think Zeppelin were a bit like that too, like you mentioned it before. It's not sometimes a matter of counting; it's a matter of feeling it inside, isn't it?
Exactly, that is exactly it. Yeah, because I mean, essentially, my motto is, if you can make love to it, then the time signature works.
Brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff. Well, thank you very much, mate. The shows are going to be in Melbourne on Friday, the 6th of February at Hamer Hall with Orchestra Victoria, and the Opera House, which is already sold out, is it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
On Wednesday, the 11th, with the Metropolitan Orchestra. So they're the wind shows, and then the fire shows are at Anita's Theatre in Thirroul on Thursday, the 12th of February, 13th of Feb in Brisbane at the Fortitude Music Hall, and the Hindley Street Music Hall in Adelaide on Sunday, the 15th of February. Jeff Martin from the Tea Party. I'm so glad we got a chance to talk, and thank you very much for joining us here.
Hey, any chance I'm going to see you at any of these shows, buddy?
Mate, I'd love to be able to get to the Fortitude Music Hall one in Brisbane.
All right, thanks, Costa.
A pleasure, mate. See ya.
Bye, buddy.